Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. The setup is finally transitioned, finally done. Well, not completely done. The wall behind me is a little bit still bland, but it's all a work in progress. We get a lot more desk space. I might do like a desk tour or something like that, but that's not something to worry about right now. The trade deadline is fast approaching, and so I have made one trade for every team, and I'm going to go over what I think they should do at this coming trade deadline. Our last video was we were ranking teams by if they were buyers or sellers. You can go check that out. It'll be up there in the info. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Also, follow me on Twitter at Century17YT. Let's get into the video. Okay, so here we are. One trade for every MLB team. This is as of, well, today's the 27th. Yesterday was the 26th. So let's get into an interesting one. I actually have the Orioles first, and we got Dylan Cease. Now, I will be completely honest with you. Last night when I was making all the graphics, I actually had Lucas Giolito in this spot. However, obviously he was traded earlier today to the Los Angeles Angels along with Ronaldo Lopez, and so I had to change things up. Dylan Cease has been kind of taken off the table. The White Sox have said no to everybody who's been asking about them, and apparently it's been a lot of teams. But if there is one team that's going to have the pieces to blow the White Sox away, it would realistically be the Orioles. They could offer a Cowser, a DL Hall. Heck, I mean, if they want to do a one, that'd be a little bit too much. I was going to say a Jackson Holiday, but that'd be a little bit too much. But they have the pieces to blow the White Sox away. This is definitely a trade I could see happening, and one I think the Orioles should try to pursue. For the Rays, maybe this one doesn't make as much sense to a lot of people. I have Jeimer Candelario. He has been one of the best hitters in baseball, especially extra base hitters in baseball this season, and the Rays have really cooled off on the hitting side ever since the beginning of the season, so they just need a guy who can kind of flat out hit, and this is a guy who would help them tremendously. The pitching is always going to be there with the Rays, and so I don't think they need to go after any pitching, really. Maybe they go after like a reliever, someone like that, something minor, but I think hitting is definitely their priority, and I think Candelario would be a great addition for them. It probably wouldn't take very much either, probably just some lower-end prospect, someone in the top 10 probably, but not much to get Jeimer Candelario. This one's probably not as popular either. I think the Blue Jays need to go out and get a reliever, and I'm picking Josh Hader. The Blue Jays have been surprisingly one of the healthier teams in baseball this year, and so there's not a lot of holes in this team. It's just kind of the way that they're constructed, and really the bullpen is the only thing they can really add to, if you ask me. Now, obviously, they have Jordan Romano in the back end, and so Hader and him would have to not really split time as closer, but they could play the matchups a lot better, a righty and a lefty, and so I think Josh Hader would be a lethal addition to this bullpen and a team that's trying to contend for a World Series right now. For the Yankees, I think they need to go out and get Cody Bellinger. I don't think they're going to do their retool thing like I said in the last video. Now I think they are going to kind of go out and buy. They've been winning a little bit more recently, and so I think buying is probably what they're going to do, because if we're being completely honest, Cashman's kind of got his job on the line, and so Bellinger would be a great addition for them. He's a guy who could play first if they really need him to, and then they've got him in the outfield. Probably going to play the corner just because Harry Bader is probably going to stay in center, but regardless, he'd be a great addition. They need offense on their team. Bellinger has been incredible for the Cubs this year and probably one of the most sought-after bats in the market. The Red Sox, I have them trading away somebody. I think they should trade Adam Duvall. Even if they do decide to buy and do this thing where they think they could go for a playoff run, it'd be smart to sell a guy like this. You know, last year they did this kind of thing. They traded away a guy like Andrew Vasquez, and they brought in guys like PHAM and Hosmer that they thought would help them, like kind of this weird buying and sell retool type of thing. And Adam Duvall is kind of the perfect piece for them to do that. He's on an expiring contract. He signed a one-year deal. Trade him to a team like maybe the Phillies. I mean, that would be fantastic. But a team like the Phillies, and then you could get back some kind of probably a pitching prospect. Honestly, I think the Phillies would do Griff McGarry for Adam Duvall, and maybe someone else needs to come for Boston as well, because Griff McGarry is kind of a higher-end pitcher, but needless to say, a pitching prospect in return for Adam Duvall. I think the Twins are going to go out and buy. They got to try to make their way into winning the AL Central. I think CJ Cron is the guy to do it, because this team needs offense. The pitching is, funny enough, has been there all year. The offense is what's struggling now. And CJ Cron is a guy who, while he's been injured a lot this year, when he's been healthy, he absolutely rakes. He mashes. So I think that even despite him playing in Coors, I think that he'd be a great addition to the Twins. And again, not going to take very much to get him. Now, I made this one literally right as the Amed Rosario trade was going on. I think the Guardians would be smart to trade Shane Bieber. Now, while he has not had as great of a year this year, I think his value is still at a pretty... It's at a high rather than a low, and so I know they brought in Syndergaard, which I don't get what sense that makes. The only thing I can think is that they think that this year isn't the year, and they want to try to fix Syndergaard and sign him to a couple more years. Because Syndergaard's not old. He's actually relatively young, kind of in his prime. And so I think that that's kind of what their thought process is. Maybe try to get him to a long-term deal. His value is going to be getting lower and lower because he's just not been good. Put him in the factory, and trading away a guy like Shane Bieber with the control he has now, I think is a smart move. Go out, get bats. That's what you need. You have the pitching. You could bring back at least one, if not two, solid MLB bats for Shane Bieber. Or heck, include him in a package where you get some kind of bopper, like, for the outfield. Another one where I've got someone trading away. I think the Detroit Tigers should trade away Michael Lorenzen. No, not Eduardo Rodriguez. I do not think they should trade him, because I think they should try to keep him for the next few years. Because honestly, I could see kind of the end of the dark tunnel for the Tigers, if I'm being completely honest. Their young talent starting to play really well. Lorenzen's like, he's the all-star on a one-year deal. Probably not going to be coming back to the Tigers. I think trading him away would make the most sense. Erod, however, I think I'd try to keep him around. Another one trading away. I think the White Sox should trade Tim Anderson. While his value is probably at an all-time low right now, it's almost like there's kind of a toxicity he's bringing to their clubhouse a little bit, and he's not helping them on the hitting side. And just because of the name, he'd probably fetch a good pitcher, maybe a prospect, like a hitting prospect. It doesn't matter what you want. You can fetch something for Tim Anderson. He'd help a team out. He's a right-handed bat who's done it in the past, and honestly, a lot of teams would want him. The Royals have started kind of their fire sale, but Scott Barlow does need to go. Well, he's got a little bit more control left. They've shown they can develop pitching just fine. They cannot develop hitters. They need to go out and get a bat of some kind. Maybe just a prospect would be fine. Some kind of position player prospect that they need hitters, and they've got plenty of pitching. They should probably trade Barlow away for a position player. The Rangers should go out and get Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams is another guy who's on a short-term deal, and honestly, the Rangers just need another pitcher. Now, I know that they've been trying to shore up the bullpen. They added Aroldis Chapman. The Rangers fans are starting to get very concerned with Martin Perez, and you could bring in Trevor Williams to replace him in the starting rotation, or worst case scenario, if Martin Perez starts playing really well again, Trevor Williams would be a great addition to the pen, because that's what he was in New York anyway. While this one not completely unlikely to happen, because I've seen crazier things happen before, but I do think Tony Kemp going to the Astros makes the most sense. They need a versatile player who can hit, preferably probably a right-handed bat, because the righties have been struggling a little bit this year. Pitching is going to be fine. Maybe they add a back-end rotation piece. Tony Kemp makes a lot of sense. He'd be returning to the Astros. He played there earlier in his career. Kemp does make sense. I'm going to be completely honest with you. As I said, this was made before the Angels traded for Giolito, which showed that they're actually going to be buyers. I had Hunter Renfroe on this list. Now, I don't think it's completely out of the possibility that he gets moved. I think if they make some kind of really good beneficial trade where they bring in some kind of bat, maybe they need more of a contact bat, which they do, and someone else needs more of a power bat. Like, that's a kind of swap, a mutual swap you could make. I think it'd be smart of the Angels to still go out and deal Hunter Renfroe. I know that they're buying, and this is a way you could buy. You can make your team better. Get rid of him because you got plenty of guys like him, and you can go get a contact bat like you need. This is a big one. I think the Mariners should try out to go and get Paul Goldschmidt. I think that they're in a place now where they need to go buy. I said in my last video, they kind of got this week where they need to decide if they're going to buy or sell. I think they're going to decide to buy anyway. And I think that the plethora of young pitching that Seattle has, they should probably trade it to the Cardinals and try to get Goldschmidt. A package for Goldschmidt to me is like Ty France. Maybe you put in Brian Wu, that young pitcher. Bryce Miller could also do it. I would say it's probably going to take one of your young pitchers like a Brian Wu. It's going to take another pitching prospect. And Ty France, I think, is just going to go and be thrown in there anyway to replace Goldschmidt at first base for St. Louis. I think the A's should trade Paul Blackburn. I don't think that they should trade Brent Rooker completely, but just looking at how this team operates, I think Blackburn is certainly going to go, and if they're going to keep going by the motives they've had in the last years, then Blackburn's the next guy. Another one kind of unlikely to happen, but I think the Braves' missing piece is David Robertson. I think their bullpen is really the only thing that needs to be shored up because the rotation is so much depth. The hitting obviously is not a problem, although it was kind of this week. The hitting was a little bit of a problem. Needless to say, I think David Robertson is definitely gone from the Mets. He was on the one-year deal. The Mets have been struggling a lot. I think the Mets will sell a little bit. So David Robertson to the Braves, it does make a bunch of sense. Plus, the Mets could demand a lot more than normal. Another interdivision trade, I think the Phillies should go after Tommy Pham. The more and more I think about this one, it makes so much sense. The Phillies need a righty bat. They do not hit lefties. Tommy Pham is having a very good year. He has a OPS above 800. He's an outfielder. The Phillies do need an outfielder to play, probably instead of Jake Cave every day. Harper at first base kind of takes out like the big guys, like the Goldschmidts out of the equation. But Tommy Pham going to left field and playing for the Phillies, and being the righty they need, makes a lot of sense. This trade makes too much sense to me. I think the Fish should get Tyler O'Neill or really any outfielder on the Cardinals. Fish have tons of pitching talent, young pitching talent. They should deal it away. Maybe they package up a deal. Maybe they think that they should trade Yuri Perez, which I know this sounds crazy. Maybe you trade Yuri Perez and you get back multiple Cardinals young bats. It does make a lot of sense to me. I think they're going to do something like that. I think the Mets would be very smart to trade away Max Scherzer. I believe Scherzer's the true rental. He's either got this year, he's got a year and a half left. Verlander doesn't make sense. His contract just started, but Scherzer being dealt so that you don't have to worry about all the money. I mean, it depends. They're probably going to have to send cash with it if they're going to send Scherzer, but you can actually command a little bit back. They probably need to replenish the farm system. Ever since Beatty and Alvarez came up, it is kind of weak, and if they start contending again next year, they need to replenish that. I don't think Scherzer's a necessity for the Mets. Nats fans, I tweeted out something yesterday. Nats baseball is getting electric. I can't even lie, man. It is fun to watch the Nationals play, especially this guy, Lane Thomas. I think they should trade him away, unfortunately. This isn't one of those things where it's like, oh, good player, trade him away. No, it's because they have to decide if they think their window is starting in the next year and a half. Lane Thomas has a year and a half left of control, and if they think their windows are going to open up by then keep him. I don't think it's going to open up that quickly, so I think trading him away for more young kids, or maybe they trade him away and they get two meh bats or maybe some pitching that they can use. I know I've got a lot of interdivision trades, and they're not likely to happen, but this also makes a lot of sense. There's a plethora of offense on the Cardinals, and there's a plethora of pitching on the Brewers. Don't you think like a 1-for-1 swap of some kind could happen? Maybe a 2-for-1, Donovan goes and you get two pitchers back. There is no doubt the Cardinals' one mission is to go bring back young pitching, no matter what it takes. Brendan Donovan could fetch some. This one's going to hurt some Reds fans, but I think they should trade away Matt McLain. I think they said that they're putting India on the trading block. Now, while I think India is much more likely to go, obviously, I think their smarter thing to do would be McLain, because India's been around a while. McLain is not. India's kind of been the mainstay in their clubhouse. Him and Votto have been there. McLain's a new guy. He's probably easier for them to let go of. He could fetch something, man. This guy's been good. I do have the Cubs. I think they should trade Marcus Stroman. I just think it makes a lot of sense. He got lit up last night. His numbers on the year are actually getting a lot worse, which is really kind of strange. He's like a 3.5 now, which is kind of like right on with his career. Needless to say, there's a team that would take him. They could get so much back for him. He's got the opt-out. He'd probably opt out. Although I don't know now, man, because his numbers are starting to climb. I don't know. I think the Pirates should trade Carlos Santana. I don't think they should trade McCutchen, because I think he kind of just wants to be there. He's kind of said that. I don't think that they're going to trade McCutchen. Santana makes a lot of sense. He's on the 1-year deal, and switch hitter. He could go help a contender pretty well. Go fetch a position player prospect. Now, I think he's likely to go to the Dodgers, but I think Jack Flaherty should be moved if you're the Cardinals. He's going to be a free agent after this year. They need to get rid of those two rentals, him and Montgomery. They need to bring in young starting pitching. Lance Lynn, who also got lit up last night. I think the Dodgers are going to make a move on him. Now that Giolito's off the board, I think Lance Lynn is likely to go to the Dodgers so they can kind of make him a reclamation project. He would eat innings if he got to the Dodgers. Speaking of Jordan Montgomery, I think that the Diamondbacks should go after him. Snakes need a starter, maybe a bullpen piece. Quite honestly, a bat. They probably need one of each of the levels. I think Montgomery would fill their innings eater role very well. He hasn't been bad this year, if I'm being honest. Another, not interdivision, but he'd stay right in the Bay Area. I think Seth Brown should go to the Giants. I think that they need one more bat to be kind of a depth piece, and I think Seth Brown's perfect for the Giants. Don't hate me now, but I think if the Padres are being a smart organization, they should trade Juan Soto. He has this year, and they ended up adding on next year to him. So you could go fetch the same. If not, maybe you could try to get a little bit more out of what you paid for him. You've got plenty of star talent outside of him anyway. I don't think they're going to re-sign him, so I think trying to go out and get what they can for him makes so much sense. And last but not least, I think that the Rockies should go out and get go out and trade Elias Diaz. He's been very good this year. He was an all-star. He had the big home run in the all-star game. I He's been hitting very well. He would help any team at DH or catcher, doesn't matter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you did enjoy, remember to leave a like as well as subscribe. As I said, go follow me on Twitter. I'm starting to do all the podcasts much more consistently now, so you go check all of them out. They're in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Or if you're on the podcast side, which some of you are, thank you for listening. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Go Phils.